Hi, our guest today is Town Administrator Richard Villani. Rick, thanks for being here with us.
It's a pleasure, and thank you for having me.
I think the last time you were here was about a year ago. Wanted to get an update.
Yeah, how's the town going? And when you get a chance, I'd like to know kind of about what the 40B, where the 40B's at.
Sure. I think we're doing very well. As you know, they've just finished another fiscal year. Obviously, budget-wise, as always, we're sound. It's been 3+ years now for me, so I'm in my 4th year.
Time flies.
It does when you're having fun.
Oh,
right?
there you go. That's important.
As far as the 40B project, we will be filing our comments by next week. August 3rd is when they are due. They're originally due in July, but we received an extension on that. And a number of departments have weighed in. We have a number of concerns.
Now, this is just whether the state thinks the site is acceptable.
That is correct.
Not the project itself.
Yes, people shouldn't lose sight of that.
That's
we're at
important.
a very different stage. A number of the comments that are being brought up will actually be dealt with, I'm assuming, at the ZBA stage, assuming it gets to that
Right, so the
level.
steps are, if the state says the site is okay to build on, then they will file a application with the ZBA, and then the local
ZBA.
structure takes over.
Right.
That is correct.
Yeah, the
Right.
ZBA is the one hearing it.
Yeah, the Special Permit Granting Authority. That is correct.
Right.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
And then there are some exceptions that 40Bs are accepted, exceptions that the 40Bs don't have to follow.
That is correct.
So then they have to sort all that stuff out.
That's correct.
Now, what's the projected date for the state to say the site is good or bad?
I don't
You
have
said the
that.
comments are due August 3rd, but do you have any idea?
I don't have that date. We will be finding out on that, but I don't have that date. Obviously, that would be,
Probably at least a month after
I
the
would think
comments.
probably a month, if not longer than
If
that,
not,
correct?
probably
Yes,
longer.
no, I'm
Probably
thinking
longer.
more
So-
like 3 months, but
So the
Probably-
process has just started. We're just,
we're just preliminarily. We did a site walk, I think, Kevin, if I remember correctly,
Yep.
you were there that day. We did a site walk on the land with the applicant's engineer, and that's where we're at this point.
And right now, this is zoned for a business park.
That is correct. And that's one of the issues.
Right,
Because you will
because
be
it's not-
losing
we'll
potential
have to be,
jobs, potential tax base, potential...
well, also, doesn't have to be rezoned.
No, that's
No,
what the
that's
40B
the
is about.
beauty of the
that's
40B.
right, that's right. You
That's
don't
one of the
have to-
exceptions.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
you get to
And-
circumvent, I probably
And
shouldn't use that
actually,
word, but
outside of
That's correct.
the business park versus residential zone, they're barely asking for any other waivers of local rules.
that's pretty correct, yes.
I mean, I remember I read through
Wow.
the 40 or 50-page preliminary application in Mass Housing, and I was shocked that normally they want a waiver, this.
Nope.
And it was primarily that and something to do with, I think, the doggy daycare.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So I think that's interesting, though, because what was proposed, if I'm trying to remember, there was a 5-story parking garage for the casino, would have been in vaguely the same spot. And now you're talking about a parking garage and
And
5-story
5 stories.
apartment buildings, so it's about the same height and the same location.
That is correct.
Not as many entrances, though.
Not as many entrances, and
Well, I'll weigh in and just say, if the thing comes, I sure as heck hope there's a traffic light.
Yeah. at
that is
least
one of the concerns of the town
Traffic pattern.
planner.
Well, don't they have to do a traffic study?
We're
Yes.
hoping for
Yeah.
traffic analysis, correct,
traffic,
yeah,
they have to
study
do a traffic
analysis.
study.
But in
yes.
the preliminary, they said they didn't think a traffic light was needed.
That is correct. They didn't think the numbers would mandate it. But
That's interesting, because that probably is not one of the exceptions that's granted by 40B. The traffic flow.
That's a state highway rule. That's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
up to the town.
Oh, really?
But I'm just thinking,
Oh,
you don't
wow.
have the cement trucks starting yet from that new cement plant.
No, wait a minute.
And they'll be coming uphill at, 2 miles an hour. If you ever got behind one of those on 495 in the morning, they're going to be lumbering up 16 going to Holliston and hitting all this
and
traffic.
hitting that traffic, yeah.
So that's my only comment as an outsider is you
Yes.
need a traffic light.
Yeah, a number of department heads raised traffic as an issue, police, fire, town
Oh,
planning.
that is a state highway, 16 is, right?
It is,
Yeah.
correct.
Right, so
Yeah.
that means it has to go, that's right, it has to go to state.
Yeah,
But I think the no brigade of the area has to wait until it actually comes to the ZBA,
yes, yes.
and then they'll be out in force, I'm sure.
I'm sure it'll be vocal. Let's leave
But,
it- let's
well,
leave it at that.
I can appreciate that.
Yes.
I can appreciate that, really. Any other major issues that are, I mean, that's gonna be a significant over the long haul kind of situation.
We're dealing with the MS4 permit now and whether or not the town would like to join in an appeal on the stormwater regulation requirements, so that's.
These are the Charles River
Yeah,
stormwater
so
regulations.
that's ongoing right now.
I can appreciate that. I mean, that can have a major impact on a lot of people in a lot of places.
Are we still talking about
Wow.
charging everybody for the size of their
That's
roofs and?
one of the
Parking lot,
things
right.
that's being discussed, so you could get charged X, I could get charged
Why?
Y, depending on
Surface area.
surface area and extent of surface area. So-
I just, I understand the goal of cleaner rivers and harbors and all that, but the idea of what somebody has simplified as a rain tax, because it really is, you're taxing people for the amount of water that falls from the sky on their roof
Yep.
and their driveway,
Yeah,
If it doesn't go to the proper place.
correct.
or through the proper cleaning.
And therein the rub lies. If you do what they want you to do, that means a lot of parking lots are gonna have to be torn up and, mitigation for stormwater runoff put in, which costs a lot of money to do.
yeah.
Or you pay a fine.
Which people are doing on the newer buildings. out
Right.
there.
Well, and new businesses, though, will be subject to it also.
I mean, if you ever
Right.
watched what goes in a new business, half of what you see is underground today.
Right, right,
Correct. And there's a reason, that's the reason for that.
right.
yeah.
Yeah, stormwater runoff.
Yeah.
Stormwater runoff. Which is, I mean, all of a sudden to put that stuff in place is really costly, to businesses. It's extreme
Well,
cost.
I live on the Charles River, and I'm waiting to see if they come to me and say, hey, your property abuts the Charles River, you're gonna have to do something. I'm gonna say, what?
What am I gonna do?
Well, I don't know that,
I'll rip up my driveway and make it gravel, that's all.
well, I'm not sure that they're gonna, I mean, there's probably gonna be a minimum. I would say that they're probably not gonna hit you because your driveway is way outside the bounds of it. But it may be. Maybe.
I don't know, I just, this thing goes back 5 or 6 years, and I think people have forgotten the disputes of 5 and 6 years ago with this thing.
Yep.
And the idea that they may sometimes, someday might, and I'll stress the word might, be paying a tax on the amount of roof they have or driveway area.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're going to have, a nice rebellion coming up with that.
Certainly.
They may haul the asphalt down to the harbor and throw it in the harbor like the Boston Tea Party.
Oh, who knows? So other than that, has the board decided on that, or?
No, right now, there are, the Stormwater Coalition has organized a number of communities. I went to a meeting about 2 weeks ago, a number of town administrators, DPW people, and there is a proposal whereby we're going to see if we're going to join, and there'll be more communities, the less expensive it will be.
But is it
and they will
still,
challenge it.
is it still Milford, Bellingham, and Franklin that
No,
are
this
the
is
pilot towns?
no,
Or is it
yes.
everybody now?
No, this is everybody now. This is the stormwater MS4 permit that will be
Which is,
coming in,
which is,
Every
a,
town.
which is distinct from.
which is
yeah.
a different situation.
Correct, so this would be every town. So a number
Okay.
of communities are now having to make the decision, as we will have to make, do we want to be part of this appeal?
Well, the
more
costs are
communities-
horrendous for every town.
Most specifically, those towns that have large parking areas or large industry
absolutely,
complexes. The impact is dramatic to
But
them.
fortunately, the dredging in Milford Pond lowered those numbers.
Yes, yep.
I'm trying to think, your man-made, I don't know the right word, the man-made swamp you're putting on Dilla Street and the bike, and Sumner Street that the town meeting funded, there's a man-made drainage cleaning
Oh,
area.
yes, the catch
I don't know
basins, yeah.
the
Catch
right
ba- yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's escaping me, but yes.
There's a word for it, because we have some of those.
Retention area.
Retention
pond,
area,
right,
thank you, retention pond, yes.
And,
Yep,
if you really want to look at how the government is weird, you've got the Milford Water Company at the beginning of the Charles taking out water.
Oh,
And
that's-
down on the Hopedale line, you have the sewer plant putting in water. And the water that's coming out of the sewage treatment plant,
Yeah.
by EPA rules, has to be cleaner
Than
than
the
the
water.
drinking water being taken out.
Okay, yeah.
Right, right.
Explain that.
And there is a limit to how much water can be taken out by the water company too.
Well,
So
that's
they
the
have to
state-
manage, they have to
That's
manage.
the state making that limit.
Right, right.
But by law, the water going back in has to be cleaner than the water going out. I always find that interesting.
That is, yeah.
Well, that's an effort to clean the river up, clean everything up, but
I know.
what's happened is the cost impact is significant. And what the secondary impact is gonna be, businesses are gonna have to make a decision on what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
Which can have a dramatic impact on the tax structure.
And where they locate.
And where they
And
locate.
where they be,
So if we're on a goal to bring businesses into a community,
Yeah.
and then the state is saying, you gotta do this kind of stuff, that drives them out of the community.
That's right.
So it's a battle that's really very significant,
Yep.
Okay. On a completely different topic, for
Very
the
good.
last couple of Board of Selectmen meetings, you've been driving the procedure for your first ever, and a department head's first ever job evaluations.
Correct, that is right, yes, yes.
Or it may not be first ever, but first ever in memory, recent memory.
From what I understand, that is true. We're trying to put a process in place that would allow for an evaluation of the town administrator position and also for each department head position.
And you just about finished up this past week.
I think we're just 90%, 99% there, yes. Other than some timelines, they're going to be goal objectives that will meld in with the evaluation process. With the department heads, I'm going to try to suggest 2 or 3 goals for them.
Good, good.
So that at the end of the evaluation process, which should be hopefully in March of
Every year.
2017, the first
Yeah.
one every year. I think it'll serve 2 things. One, I think each department head will get a good look as to where they are and where they are in my eyes and the Board of Selectmen's eyes. But I also think it's going to be very informative, and I say that for the public at times and also for the Board of Selectmen as to different initiatives that each department head is looking to do and hopefully the achievement of those initiatives.
Which should roll up to support your goals.
Absolutely. If it doesn't, then my goals are not going to be successful.
Well, what it does is it gives a nice way to formally, in a formal method, have a formal dialogue with everybody.
Absolutely.
And have it trackable, because what
Yes.
happens is in a laissez-faire kind of thing, yeah, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, but this gives everybody to allow them to measure it.
Yeah,
And-
and that's
and-
was the
and-
goal, by the
That's
way,
the goal, is
to be able to measure it.
And also, if it's followed correctly, there shouldn't be any surprises to anybody when the review is done.
No, because the process, as we're going to set it up, both for me, there shouldn't be a surprise, and each department head, I will sit down, they will see the actual form, and we
Right,
will
but
draft
also
the goals and
during-
Right,
objectives,
together,
so
right.
there's
But-
no
but-
surprise.
But just as Chairman Buckley asked the other members to give you input every quarter on your goals, the department heads will be getting input from you, because let's face it, you were kind of ambushed, I don't want to say ambushed, surprised, late last year, early this year, when they just decided to do a review of you with no process in place.
Yeah, surprise, that's a good word.
So now, though, there's a formal the end result of that, whatever you thought or other people thought of the process, the end result that came out of it is you helped create the process for this going forward. And I thought Selectman Kincaid asked the oddest question this past Monday night. He had no comment on your goals, he had no comment on everything. He just wanted to know, were you happy with the procedure?
Yes, and I thought that was a great question, because
Well, I thought it
if
was. It's
wasn't-
just something you don't expect to
Yeah,
hear.
right.
Normally, they impose it on you.
Yeah.
And his question was, as long as you're happy with the format and process,
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, if you remember from the outset, when I first started drafting it, it was not much longer. It was much more involved and
Right.
detailed. And some good comments that came back was it could be streamlined. I did look at other towns, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
A number of towns do this. This is
Right.
not unique to Milford. Most
No, no.
area
No,
towns
it's
do
actually,
this,
though,
by the way. I think Uxbridge,
It's actually
Turner, Ray Neely's
surprising
doing
because
it.
from a taxpayer standpoint, the complaint I always hear is no matter what they do, they get a raise every year.
Right. So what the heck are they doing?
Right, and let's face it, town meeting gives you guys, well, you have a contract,
I have
but
a contract,
for the people without contracts, they usually get their 1 or 2% every year.
Right.
But the complaint the taxpayers always say, well, it doesn't matter what they do, but now you're getting held to this standard.
Right. And I think, again, if now we can release some of the goals and objectives that have been accomplished, I think that helps from that standpoint.
It is a written, documented, historical set of goals,
Yeah.
which gives the people a measurable thing against, not
Yeah.
some arbitrary and capricious
Yeah.
kind of
Right,
measurement,
right.
but an absolute, this is
And
what
you
I
know
see.
the goals going in. It's
Bingo.
not, these
Right,
aren't
and
surprises,
Al,
by the
and
way.
Al and I spent time in private industry where this is the norm, where you sit down and once or twice a year, you're given a set of goals in writing and you answer them in writing and you
Oh, I've,
Goals and
harmonize the
objective,
review.
yeah.
I've
goals.
been evaluated
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
in my prior life as an attorney. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, no, I'm just kidding. The
So,
other,
but you feel happy with the process?
and that's good.
Yeah, I'm very comfortable
Yeah.
with it. I think the goals are achievable. I guess we talked about the community compact. I mean, that should go forward. So, I mean, and I think
you
some of the goals are things I'm going to do anyway. Community compact, the evaluation process itself is a goal.
The
so-
normal running of the office is a good.
Yeah, that's something I do day to day, but I think maybe it'll just
It's
provide
just-
people with
it-
more with what we do.
I
as-
think
as Al
it's
said.
new to the townspeople. And I think that was part of the issue when the surprise came up of a public review.
Yeah.
Was why are they doing this?
Yeah.
In reality, I think they're making it function more like a private company would do it.
Well, I mean, it's not only good for the voters, for the community, but it's also good for the employee. It's good for the employee to understand what their expectation is, what the expectation of their employer
And I
is.
welcome the feedback.
I mean, it's-
constructive criticism should be used.
You
for
But it's
can't get
also,
better.
let's
know.
face it, you and probably department heads without contracts, you serve in a political environment.
Yes.
And who's to say what the makeup of the board is 3 years from now?
Yeah.
And they decide, no, we don't want you.
Yeah.
And as long as you have glowing reviews,
Yeah.
you're protected.
Yeah, I could
That's
be.
exactly
I
the
could
case.
be evaluated this year by.
It gives you
Certain
a
people, and next
long,
year, but-
right, it gives you a long-term protection.
Yeah.
Which municipal employees sometimes lack that long-term
Right.
protection because of the
Yeah.
political environment.
Yeah.
But the other thing I think is probably the most important thing, is it also gives you a forced dialogue at some point in time
Yes.
with your employer.
Yeah, this is gonna, yep.
And that's important
Yep.
because that's not something, we do that in Upton. The department head, the elected officials are responsible for every one of their employees, the employees of the department, to do a review before the end of January. Every year, we have to
Okay.
do a review.
Okay.
And so what it does is it forces that dialogue.
Yeah.
And I think at every level, it's very
Because
important.
along the way on each goal, I'm gonna see what the progress is. I don't wanna get to
Absolutely.
the end of the line.
Right, and the other
From
thing
my own
that-
standpoint too.
The other thing, let's face it, with selectmen, you could have selectman A talking to you on the phone. You hang up, 10 minutes later, selectman B calls and says the exact opposite. You hang up and
happens, yeah.
the end of the day, selectman C calls up.
It says, why are you
and-
talking to them?
And either says that or says, I'm the chairman, do it this way.
Yeah.
And how do the only way to handle that is through a formal goal and review process.
Right.
Otherwise, you've got 3 people coming at you 3 different ways.
Yeah.
The other thing which I think is always interesting is that everybody has a different view of what the chairman's charge is on an elected office. The chairman's charge is to organize the meeting and set the agenda.
Yeah,
That's their charge.
that's their
No
charge.
more, no less,
Yeah.
that's it. Now, they can say, yeah, we'll put it on the agenda, or they can say, we won't put it on the
Right.
agenda.
Yeah.
They get to control the agenda.
Yeah.
But that's all they get. They don't have any special privileges because they're chairman.
No, once you get to the meeting,
With it, it's an
each
open
has its
meeting.
own vote.
That's correct, and a lot of
Okay.
people don't realize that.
Yeah.
So it gives, but I think the organized review is extremely important, and it's, I
Yeah,
think
we
it'll
shouldn't be
make-
afraid of it. We
No,
should welcome it. I
absolutely.
think I said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Putting that one to bed.
Okay.
The
Now,
next, any other big issues you see?
Not on the horizon.
Funding for bus.
Well, that's an issue I don't have control of, or we don't have
Well,
control
the state
of right
legislature
now.
controls it.
Yeah, well, hopefully we will get some good news by the end of the week.
And if the governor's vetoes are not overwritten, there is no bus transportation.
I think safe to say the August 1st initial start date is not going to happen, okay?
Really?
Yeah, no.
Well, the
I
governor's
mean, it's just-
overridden
There's
the
no way.
funding.
I mean, we are proceeding as if it is. We have the Transportation Advisory Committee now in place. to do that.
You
We
have a bus route
We
that's
have
quasi
a
in
route
place?
now that everybody seems, at least as a start, is the right route.
The place.
Carl DiMichello from Metro
MW.
West Transit is coming in to explain to people how the bus line would work.
Yeah, he's going to give sample tours if you guys at some
Really?
point want to
And,
get together and go on the actual route on the actual bus.
Oh,
I say,
wow.
I'm a rarity. Unlike most people in Milford, I grew up where there was public transportation,
See, I did not. So.
and I understand how to hail a bus, get on a bus,
Yeah.
pay for the bus. I get a huge laugh out of the fact
We've had this
that
conversation.
Carl actually has to run a seminar teaching people how to get on a bus.
Yeah.
To me, it's second nature how to
Yeah.
get on a bus.
Yeah.
Gee, the bus stops at a stop, you climb on and you pay.
Yeah.
But evidently, people need to be taught
Yes.
that
I
here.
mean, in law school, I learned it when I rode the T in Boston for
Yep.
3 years, that you had to be at a certain place at a certain time, or
That's-
you missed
the
it,
bus, yeah.
and you wait for the next one.
Yeah, you missed the bus, that's a good one.
Oh, I just remember some of the comments during
Yeah.
the procedure leading up to the
Yeah.
town meeting where
Yeah.
my mother's going to have to sit and stand for an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, no, you don't get to the bus stop till 2 or 3 minutes before the bus is
Yeah,
due.
yeah.
But I guess people need to learn this who've
Yeah,
never ridden
and we've had a
public
number of
transit.
forums already, and they'll be continued.
Yep.
We've had one at the senior center.
Well, there's
we've had a
there's
few of
another
them.
issue that's significant too, because you have a language issue. A lot of people don't
True,
understand, so there's a language issue
Yep.
that has
Yep.
to be dealt with.
yeah.
Well, that's MWRTA's job to deal with that.
Yeah,
Well-
and they're going to do a lot of the outreach, a lot of the education, a lot of the website updating.
What I liked was what you and the board learned this week from the police chief was if you have a smartphone, you can follow the progress of the bus in real
Absolutely,
time
yes, you
on
can.
your smartphone.
Yes.
So if
Oh,
you're
wow, that's good.
if you're say shopping in Kohl's and the bus is due in 10 minutes, you can actually look on your smartphone and see, gee, it's actually still downtown. I've got, maybe 12 minutes to walk up to the stop.
Yes,
But wherever you are, so I mean, basically, we could be sitting right here following the progress
Yeah.
of the current.
I
So it-
sat
Plus
in
on
on
our
the first
smartphones.
transportation advisory meeting last week, and there were actually a couple of them, the members, actually looking at their phone and travel and looking at other
wow.
routes.
And you've got a good makeup on the committee. You've got
I
Scott,
think it's an excellent
Crisafulli is the chairman.
Correct.
That's good.
You've got Brian, I can't remember his last
Long,
name.
Brian Long.
Brian Long, who did a lot with transportation down at UMass
Yes.
Amherst,
Yeah, I'm very passionate
is
about
the
it.
vice chair. You've got Sue Clark of the senior center.
Yeah,
Mike Swartz of the finance
Yep.
committee.
George Clemens.
George Clemens, library trustee.
Yeah, Michelle Zale, humanitarian
Yep.
council, I
Coalition,
believe, and Francisco.
Francisco Ramos, who runs the translation program at the
Right.
hospital.
Yeah, and Chana 6. Yep.
And Sean, 6 members. Is that 7?
That's 7, I think. isn't
That's
it?
good.
Do we
That's a
leave it?
good
Yeah.
makeup.
I think they did a great job
Yeah.
picking that committee.
Yes.
Again, I sat in on the first one just to provide some information to them.
And
Yeah,
good bunch. I think everybody from the town government that needs to be there is there.
well represented.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
A broad spectrum
and
of people.
Chief O'Loughlin's been an integral part of planning the route
And he'll
along with
continue
Scott,
to be part of it.
along with Scott, you,
Yeah.
and things like that. So
Yeah.
now the question is if the state comes up with the money, and if not, oh well.
Yeah, that's be disappointing since
It would
we've
be.
worked this hard to get to this point.
It would be. It would be.
But that's state government.
Right, but there is no article going to be put on the October town meeting if the state says no.
None to my knowledge at this time.
The indication I got from selectmen, if no money
Right.
comes from the state, that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
The town put up 50 and that's it. So,
Yeah, we got the 75 from the Chinook, we still have, 125 is the magic number, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
To implement. But yeah, we'll not start August 1st.
It's a
Money
shame
comes
in a way.
through, then.
I still
within the
believe,
month after.
for all the people who question the ridership, I still believe the ridership is already there waiting for the bus.
Oh, there's,
And I think people will be surprised to see those buses getting filled, the skeptics.
That's always been the issue, I think. How can we determine the ridership? And you can't, I don't think, until
That's like
you
the-
implement.
that's,
You can't until you implement, and I think,
that's like counting how many fish you're gonna catch when you go fishing.
Okay.
You can't predict that.
Yeah.
It's unpredictable. But my suspicion is it'll be very high.
Okay.
That's my suspicion.
Yeah.
I think Harold Rhodes did a good job of scoping out the need.
Yeah.
And the numbers that he, vetted more than, it's almost 2 years ago now,
Yes.
from department heads, churches, the hospital, I don't think they're changing. And I think the people who are skeptics in my mind are people who don't need the service, and so they can't envision somebody who might.
correct.
Right,
And
that's exactly.
it's sort of like when you're handicapped, unless you have a handicapped member in your family, you really don't understand the needs of someone who is handicapped
The impact of being
Yeah.
handicapped.
and the impact of
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, if a family member becomes ill or injured, you learn it and then
Yeah.
go, wow.
Yeah, you can't put yourself in their shoes. There are going to be people, I think, that are going to rely on this for
Oh, without question.
jobs, for just entertainment, shopping, basic things that we jump in our car every day and do
Well,
and take for granted.
Well, that's number one, but without question. But the other thing is, there's all kinds of things that are going to be reduced. I think crime will be reduced because people have more access to more things.
Yeah.
You know, there'll be services in town that will be taken advantage of more because of access to the bus. So I think there's all kinds of things that are going to improve if it goes forward. So my hope
Well,
is.
we'll have to wait.
But
and
we'll
see.
find
So
out.
we're going to hopefully track statistics, do a lot of
That's the job of the
monthly
advisory
reporting.
committee.
That's the advisory committee. That's going to be their role, and then report back to the selectmen and to the public.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
But for now, you're waiting on whether or not the state legislature
We're on hold, I
overrides
guess.
the governor's vetoes.
Yeah, we're on hold until we get that determination.
Okay, so you may not know that until middle of later August.
It's like the budget, like school
Yeah.
budgets. Can't fix the school budget until you know what the state.
So you know what they're going to give you.
And they never are on time.
Yeah.
Any other big things on your horizon as
Those are-
town administrator?
I mean, those are a lot of big things.
Those are the
Wait, I mean, most of it's the day-to-day, but
The day-to-day is, that you just get used to that and you do that. But no, that's obviously special town meeting will be coming up. We're going to deal with that.
In
That's-
October,
That's
yeah.
obviously probably looking at October 23rd, I think will be the date. Don't hold me to that. But I
then you
think-
have the license renewals. I mean, you have the annual thing that you go through.
Yeah.
You know, the annual town meeting in the spring,
Yeah.
the Portuguese picnic.
Yep.
Now we have the annual Labor Day music event.
That's
up at the
correct.
tradesman.
Yes, yeah.
The fall town meeting, the
Yep.
license renewals. but-
License renewing the end, appointments and.
Yeah, appointments,
We
right.
just did that. the
Right,
end.
but there's, other than the 40B in busing and the MS4, there's no major thing looming that you're aware of.
Not that I'm thinking of right now.
That's a good thing.
That's a good, I guess, unless the
Well, you don't want,
positive things.
you don't want to get your table too
Yeah,
filled with
no,
stuff to do.
yeah, It's, believe me, there's plenty for.
Yeah, that's what I was
for
gonna
us
say.
to
I mean-
do. We have a good crew, good people work hard, department heads.
Last question
yes.
for you. You've now been in the job, you said, over 3 years.
Correct, yes.
After 3 years, what's your take on it? Was it what you thought it was when you applied?
Honest answer, probably not.
Busier, more complex?
Busier, much more complex. The number of different things one gets involved in on a day-to-day basis. There is no planning of the day, very little.
Was it Will Kincaid the other night who said you are a generalist
Yes,
who's expected, though, to manage specialists in
Yeah.
every area?
And
So you're not the town engineer was the example, but you have to manage the town
Yeah.
engineer. You're not
I
the
often use
planner,
the word facilitator at some point.
but you have to
Facilitator.
manage
They
the
kind of
planner.
execute, but I have to
Well, you have to, well, the other piece.
direct.
You have to, you have to give them the authority and the responsibility.
yeah.
That's the hardest thing to
Yeah.
do, is to give somebody responsibility, but also give them the authority
Yeah.
to
So,
accomplish
so
those
if
tasks.
I get this right, you're now the expert on
Police, fire,
police, fire,
roads,
building, roads, planning and engineering,
Finances.
Finance, right.
finances. So I like that, you're the generalist
And the
who
senior center.
manages
and
all the
senior center,
specialists.
Right.
Youth
So you-
center.
Well,
senior
go
center,
the other way.
youth center.
Very nice that that's taking off
Oh,
now
yeah.
and doing very well.
We went there yesterday, Rotary Club went there for lunch.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
beautiful,
yeah.
beautiful.
I don't know if you've been out to the Woodland School. That
No, we have to go out there.
hopefully substantial completion date is tomorrow. I think that's
Tomorrow is the date,
tomorrow,
and I
so,
believe they began tearing down the old one today,
today or tomorrow. Yeah.
today or
I think so.
tomorrow.
Yes.
And they're under budget.
And
Whoa.
that's the talk. Yes.
Oh.
That's
The
correct. I'm
talk
on
is
that
they're
committee
somewhere
also.
about $1 million
Yeah.
under budget.
That's the
Yes,
talk.
yeah.
Well, that's a good thing.
So it's a
Middle
beautiful-
school east, that's still up in the air.
Oh, that is still up in the
And
air.
probably will be for some time,
Yes.
until the school committee decides whether
they're
they
gonna
want to
do with it.
release it.
They're
Yeah.
going to have to make a determination, and then if they do, then obviously then the selectmen need to
Okay.
pick up the ball.
Well, Rick, we're out of time.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
I tell you,
Pleasure.
this is painless.
Yes, no, it's been a while. I know you kept asking me, and it just didn't work out
Well, it's a good thing.
schedule-wise, but today
And
did.
it's painless,
Always nice to be with both of you.
All right,
Wow.
thanks for coming, and we'll have you again
Thank
in
you.
another couple
Thank
of
you.
months.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you.